You're just an ordinary welder. The client asks you to weld a bumblebee over 5 meters tall, and he wants you to finish it in 2 days because he wants to give it to his grandpa as a birthday banquet gift. But actually, he meant to give a 50-centimeter model.
He didn't realize he added an extra zero.
And since you don't know the truth, you're planning to build a 5-meter Gundam in just 2 days. That's almost impossible. You wanted to refuse the job, but they offered too much money, so you started working overtime. You didn't sleep for 2 days and 2 nights. Finally, the night before the birthday banquet, you finished the Gundam just as the client requested. Then you wrapped the entire mecha with red cloth and loaded it onto the truck, wanting to be completely responsible to the client. You didn't want anyone to see the mecha before it arrived, so you drove the rented heavy truck yourself, pulling the fully wrapped mecha out of the warehouse gates. An hour later, at Cloudtop Manor, Yunlai Mountain, Zhonghai City, nestled halfway up the mountain. This place is the private estate of Wang Tianhao, a well-known entrepreneur in Zhonghai, and also the venue for his father's 70th birthday celebration. A legally modified heavy truck entered the gated manor after security verification. Driving through the entrance, there are pavilions, towers, waterfalls, and streams. Literally everything you could imagine. You park the mecha in the open space in front of the villa, still wrapped tightly in red cloth. After working for 2 whole days and nights, finally the job is done. You should go home and mute your phone and get a good sleep. Early the next morning, the entire manor starts buzzing with excitement. Luxury cars roll into Cloudtop Manor one after another. Business tycoons from all over Zhonghai arrive one after another, coming to offer birthday wishes. It's not lunchtime yet. So many guests with children wander around the manor. They all notice that on the open area in front of the villa, there's a huge object covered with a red cloth. It was arranged as a birthday gift by one of the old man's sons, and no one dared to touch it. As lunchtime approaches, 3 military trucks pull into the villa and park in the empty lot. Soldiers from the front and back vehicles get out first, all fully armed, alert and standing guard all around. An elderly man in a Zhongshan suit steps out of the middle armored vehicle and walks steadily toward the villa. You show up this late to your own birthday. Were you lost in your research again and forgot the time? Old Wang hears this familiar voice, and his cloudy eyes suddenly light up. Old Hua, you old rascal, what are you doing here, abandoning your own business? Another elderly man with white hair walks out of the villa, wearing the exact same Zhongshan suit as Old Wang. Clearly, these 2 elders have known each other for a long time. They immediately start chatting. Guests nearby recognize them, and the chatterboxes suddenly fall silent with respect. Whether it's Old Wang or the talker, both are giants in the modern scientific community. They deserve the highest respect. They're the backbone of the Zhonghai Military Research Base. Both have achieved major scientific milestones in mechanical intelligence, making groundbreaking contributions. They are true national treasures. Old Wang and the talker walk side by side into the grand banquet hall inside the villa. The room is already packed with distinguished guests. But the 2 old men are not really interested in the banquet. Old Wang, the reason I came today, is actually to discuss something with you face to face. We need to speed up our exoskeleton armor R&D. Oh, why's that? Old Hua, did you catch some rumors? I heard last night that the Northern Theater Command is also working on exoskeleton armor. They're already in the testing phase. That fast? How are their functionality and strength tests going? Extremely strong. Old Wang frowns immediately. Right now, it's only the first stage of development. The research results will directly determine where resources go next and how funding is allocated. If the Northern Theater Command takes first place, how will he be able to save face? At that moment, a petite girl, about 18 years old, walks quickly over to Old Wang. Grandpa, the birthday banquet is about to start. Everyone is here except for second uncle and sister Yixu. Everyone else has arrived. The girl smiles sweetly, while mysteriously taking out a gift box. This is my gift for Grandpa. Old Wang beams as he takes the gift box, looking at Wang Ning with tenderness in his eyes. This model of exoskeleton armor was bought from the British military. Wang Ning lifts her chin and says proudly, hearing the words exoskeleton armor, Both old men's eyes light up. When China was developing nuclear submarines, they also verified them by using a model from the British military. They did side comparisons. It's no exaggeration to say that the model, which seemed so insignificant at the time, was incredibly valuable. The same goes here. Maybe this exoskeleton armor model can also provide them with inspiration. Old Wang opens Wang Ning's gift. It's incredibly detailed. Each joint and part is ingeniously designed. The chatterbox recognizes its greatness at a glance and figures that the model must have been made with reference to actual British military hardware. Ning, you really got Grandpa a great gift. Old Wang laughs heartily, gently pinching Wang Ning's nose. As long as you like it. Hearing Grandpa's praise, the pride on Wang Ning's face grows deeper. She takes out her phone and snaps a couple of pictures of the model, posting them on her Moments. Still thinking it's not enough, she forwards them to Wang Yixu. Meanwhile, Wang Yixu, who is on her way over, looks at her phone and reads the messages and smiles helplessly. Wang Ning is the daughter of the eldest uncle's family and is only 2 months younger than her. Since childhood, everything's been a competition. Whether it was school exams or piano contests, they even compete in what they wear. But Wang Ning has never actually won. Now she's showing off through messages, saying what she gave Grandpa and how happy Grandpa is with it. She even treats birthday gifts as a contest. Wang Yixu doesn't really care and just smiles. What she's worried about now is whether the 50 centimeters Mech model she ordered from you has been delivered to the manor. You haven't responded to any of her texts or calls. A dozen minutes later, Wang Tianhao and his daughter Wang Yixu finally arrive before the banquet begins. I wish you happiness as vast as the sea, and longevity as everlasting as the southern pines. Wang Tianhao presents the 200-year-old Changbai ginseng that he spent a small fortune on. What use do I have for this? You and your brother only know how to waste money. Old Wang sounds displeased, but is not really angry. After all, it's the thought that counts from the second son. It hasn't been that long since I last saw you, Yixu. And just like Ning, you've both become such elegant young ladies. Besides his scientific work, Old Wang also cares deeply for his 2 granddaughters. He smiles when he sees Wang Yixu, and his face lights up. Standing next to him, Wang Tianhao laughs. You still think he's just a little kid who needs milk. All the relatives and guests around burst into laughter. The atmosphere is harmonious. Everyone is having a great time. Yixu, did you also prepare a gift for Grandpa? Stop pretending to be mysterious. Hurry up and take it out. At that moment, a voice rang out. Wang Ning stuck his head out from the crowd. He smiled and asked, but there was definitely a bit of challenge in his tone. Old Wang's eyes lit up. He continued to ask, Yixu, I heard from your dad that you prepared a nice gift for Grandpa. Where is it? Grandpa, please wait a moment. Right now, I actually don't know where the gift is. Wang Yixu looked a bit uneasy. Her face was full of anxiety. She kept her head down, anxiously tapping on her phone, rapidly sending messages. Master Su, where are you? Why hasn't the mech I ordered been delivered? I trusted you so much. How could you lie to me? After seeing the message, please, you must call me back. Wang Tianhao, noticing his daughter's expression, frowned and quietly asked, did that Master Su scam you? Wang Yixu was so anxious she had tears in her eyes. Yixu sis, where's your gift? Stop hiding it. Hurry and let everyone see it. Wang Ning ran over, grabbed Wang Yixu's arm and shook it twice, and urged her again. Tears welled up in Wang Yixu's eyes. Her chin was trembling slightly. She looked completely aggrieved. She looked like she was about to cry. She'd been scammed. How could she even say that out loud? She was mortified. Wang Ning finally realized Wang Yixu really hadn't brought a gift. He was overjoyed inside. Ever since they were kids, Wang Yixu's grades, awards in music, art, math competitions, and the like, everything about her was always so impressive. And finally, today she lost to him for once. Wang Ning tried hard not to burst out laughing. Pretending to be concerned, he asked, did you lose it, Yixu sis? Don't worry, my 10-centimeter exoskeleton armor model. Let's just say we gave it together. Grandpa likes it a lot. Hearing Wang Ming say that, Wang Yixu felt even worse. Actually, she had also prepared a 50-centimeter mech model. Grandpa would definitely have liked it, but at this point, she had no choice but to admit she'd been duped. I prepared a gift too. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, interrupting her, and almost immediately a call came in. When she saw the number, she was shocked it was you. Wow, scammers are really getting bold these days. Wang Yixu was instantly furious. She answered the call. On the other end, a flustered, angry voice yelled, "Pretty Wang, how did I scam you? I delivered the order last night. It's parked right outside the villa. That 500-centimeter tall mech is huge. Did you really not see it, or are you just pretending? I give up. I've called you over 20 times this morning. You're something else." Wang Yixu froze. Her mind couldn't process it all for a moment. She was the one about to blow up a second ago. How did it flip so suddenly? What about 500 centimeters? She quickly switched to the chat window and realized that when she placed the custom order the day before, she'd mistakenly added an extra zero. What was supposed to be a 50-centimeter mech turned into 500 centimeters. So in other words, the huge thing, wrapped in red outside the villa, was the mech she'd ordered? Wang Yixu gasped in shock. Master Su calmed down for a sec, now that she figured it out. All her previous gloom disappeared. She spoke much more politely. What do you mean? I'm not giving you a refund, and you still have to pay me the remaining balance. Otherwise, I'll call to bug you every single day, and I'll get a lawyer to sue you. I'm not letting this go. Before Wang Yixu could finish, she was interrupted. On the other end, Su's voice was obviously getting anxious. No. Master Su, I'm not backing out on the payment. I'll transfer the rest to you when I'm done here. That's more like it. The mech's activation and data tracking has a dedicated phone app. I sent it to you. Just accept it. After hanging up, Wang Yixu was a bit stunned. Looks like she wrongly blamed Master Su. But just that 5-meter tall mech, finished in less than 2 days. Could it really be high quality? Just having it built is already good enough? Wang Yixu wasn't expecting much. She hadn't put her phone on speaker during the call. But people around her still got the general idea. Wang Ning glanced out the window, making something that big. It must be shoddy workmanship, probably just a pile of scrap metal welded together. As long as it looks roughly right, he'd seen models this junky before. No way it could compare to the detailed 10-centimeter models he bought from the States. He glanced to the side, then said with a smile, "Yixu sis, looks like your gift is pretty good too. Since the birthday banquet hasn't started yet, let's go take a look first. Would you like to check it out now?" Wang Yixu felt a little down. She actually preferred to wait until all the guests had left. It would be less embarrassing in front of just family, rather than hundreds of guests. Come on, let's go check it out. It won't take more than a few minutes. Wang Ning hyped up the crowd nearby. All right then, let's go have a look. Old Wang chuckled heartily and led everyone out, chatting and laughing. Heading toward the empty lot outside the villa, Wang Yixu followed at the very back. Her heart was pounding with nerves. She could totally picture everyone's reaction when they saw the ugly model. What would their faces look like? Standing at the feet of the mech covered in red cloth, Wang Yixu just wished the ground would swallow her up. She really was mortified this time. Old Wang and the guests, all the relatives and friends were gathered around, guessing curiously what might be under the red cloth. "Yixu sis, why are you spacing out? Hurry up and pull off the red cloth." Wang Ning couldn't wait any longer, urging her on to see Yixu embarrassed. "Little Yixu, as long as it's from you, Grandpa will love the gift. Go ahead and unveil it." Old Wang could tell his granddaughter was worried and reassured her kindly. "Pretty Yixu, hurry up and show everyone." The guests joined in, urging her to. When Wang Yixu heard this, she took a deep breath. Whatever happens, I'm going for it. She grabbed a corner of the red cloth and pulled hard. The red cloth slid off. A red mech with an icy gloss towered in front of everyone, appearing grand and imposing, with a presence that seemed to dominate the sky, creating unparalleled pressure, so much so that many people stopped breathing. The mech's sharply outlined body, a domineering and cool design, metallic glowing red eyes, and the massive railgun resting on its shoulder. At this moment, everyone's eyes were blown away. A wild and overwhelming sense of awe rushed up from the solace of countless people's feet, soaring straight to the top of their heads. It felt like their scalps were lifted right off. Wang Ning, who had been waiting for a good show, suddenly shuddered all over. His pupils shook violently. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He collapsed to the ground with a thud, completely out of his mind, totally lost. But at this moment, no one paid any attention to Wang Ning, who had fallen to the ground. Everyone crowded around, looking up at the crimson mech, deeply shaken, their skin tingling. There were plenty of young people present. Their eyes were sparkling as they stared at the mech, especially those who were a bit younger. Their love for the giant machine was obvious and open. Even those who were a bit older could not help but be deeply fascinated, wishing they could pilot it themselves and roam through outer space. Mechs are truly a man's romantic dream, not just for men. Women were captivated by the mech's power too. Some girls kept exclaiming how cool it was. Wang Ning, still in a daze, mumbled as he sat on the ground. Could it actually be real? No matter how real it looks, it had to be fake. How could Yizhu possibly afford a real mech? Even England can't build this thing. Never mind our country. The entire estate was immersed in the shock brought by the giant mech. They even forgot about the birthday banquet. The chatterbox cleared his throat lightly, gently tugged on Wang Meng. The two of them walked over together and brought the equally confused Wang Yixu over to the side. The laymen just enjoy the spectacle, while the experts look for the details. Just from the mech's appearance, you can tell it's extraordinary. Little Yixu, be honest with Grandpa Hua. Where did you get this mech? Wang Yixu's big cartoon-like eyes blinked twice. Her gaze was a bit blank. She didn't answer, as if she was deep in thought. Little Yixu. Wang Yixu suddenly shivered, finally snapped out of her thoughts. Grandpa Hua, if I said I spent 3 million and hired a welder to build it, would you think I'm lying? Silly girl, why are you talking nonsense like that? Good kids don't lie, you know? The chatterbox spoke kindly, but his brows furrowed slightly. Grandpa Hua, I knew you wouldn't believe me. Wang Yixu pouted. She didn't know how else to explain. Are you saying it was that Master Su, who called you from the villa earlier, who welded this? Elder Wang knew his granddaughter never lied. A total little goofball, so he was inclined to believe her.
His name is Su Fan.
He's a master welder. Wang Yixu nodded and added that detail. Elder Wang and the chatterbox exchanged glances. Both saw deep confusion in each other's eyes. This mech was clearly way beyond the level of an ordinary model. Some parts followed aerodynamic principles. The mech's vector thrusters on the back bore some resemblance to the Eagle's F-119 engines. From some angles, it even looked more advanced than the F-119. And the railgun on the shoulder didn't look like a replica. As leading members of the scientific community, they instantly noticed things others missed. Around the mech, more and more people gathered. Even many servants from Mountaintop Manor and the banquet chefs came over to join in the excitement. After a heated discussion, everyone's attention focused on the cockpit at the mech's chest. A group of people excitedly pointed and discussed the cockpit. Eventually, someone couldn't help but shout out, "Open the cockpit! Open the cockpit!" Wang Ning, who hadn't spoken in a while, was helped up by a servant, gradually calmed his inner shock. All the attention today was stolen by the mech Yizhu gifted. He finally understood. This giant mech model must have been prepared by Yizhu way in advance. Yizhu's expression earlier must have been just an act. A model is just a model after all for show. Once the cockpit is opened, and people see how shabby it is inside, they'll definitely be disappointed. A mysterious smile curled on his lips. He smiled and said, "Everyone, no need to be impatient. Yizhu will definitely open the cockpit. She won't let you down." Turning his head, he looked at Wang Yixu. "Isn't that right, Sister Yizhu?" With someone leading the crowd, more people joined in the chanting. Wang Yixu could only grit her teeth and give it a try. But the guests will probably be disappointed. According to what Master Su said, it seems you can control the mech with an app on your phone. Open the phone, found the app package you sent, installed it with one click. As Wang Yixu tapped the app to run it, the launch screen appeared. Right after that, A series of mechanical locking sounds came from inside the mech, startling everyone and making them step back 2 paces. Wang Ning sneered and murmured to himself. Even installed sound effects. All this just to steal the show. Talk about putting in the effort. Be careful, little Yizu. Elder Wang clearly sensed something was wrong. That sound of mechanical linkage and physical locking reminded him of the exoskeleton armor he worked on.
It sounded almost identical.
Wang Yixu swiped on the interface with her finger. It seemed only the start button was available. There wasn't any command for opening the cockpit. She held her breath and gently tapped the start button. A clear alert sounded, suddenly blasting from above the crowd. The mech's eyes lit up bright red. Right after that, a mechanical voice came from inside the mech. Pilot authorization confirmed. Coolant injection complete. Mini hydrogen engine activated. Phased array situation awareness system enabled. Junction 1, Mech. First time activation. Successfully scanned the pilot. The mech's eyes lowered. A red beam locked onto Wang Yixu's position. Then the arm reached over toward her, grabbing and lifting her to the cockpit. She was so nervous. Her phone accidentally dropped from her hand. A hissing airlock sound was heard. Before Wang Yixu could react, she was sent into the cockpit. The hatch closed. Wang Yixu held the holographic helmet, sitting in the pilot's seat, still in shock, staring at the unfamiliar controls and dashboard. She was absolutely stunned. Even her breath was shaky. This feels way too realistic. This money was totally worth it. Down below the mech, when the cockpit opened just now, many people saw the structure inside. Wang Ning was the first to be dumbfounded. This was nothing like what he expected. If the exterior design of the mecha is already stunning enough, then the cockpit interior is absolutely brimming with a sci-fi vibe. The model is crafted so well, not just on the outside. Even the cockpit is this lifelike. Even the arms can actually move?
It's beyond his understanding.
Fly it, make it fly. Over 100 people were as excited as if they'd been injected with adrenaline. Everyone started cheering enthusiastically. The atmosphere was unprecedentedly intense. Wang Ning's face looked absolutely grim. His expression was so gloomy it could almost drip water. He gritted his teeth and said, "I don't believe it can really fly." At this moment, Wang Yixu also put on the holohelmet. The view before her eyes instantly shifted. She could see through all the external obstructions around the mecha. Everything became nearly transparent. Rows of transparent operating prompts appeared in front of her. A feeling like "I am the mecha" emerged within her. Her heart pounded nervously. All of this was beyond his comprehension. Is this really something a welder could make? It's unbelievable. The sounds outside were also picked up by the mecha's external sensors and transmitted in real time to Wang Yixu's ears. Amid such excitement, Wang Yixu also became elated. At this point, he couldn't refuse anymore. Her slightly trembling hand slowly reached for the control stick. Old Wang also picked up Wang Yixu's dropped phone from the ground. Only then did he realize what was on the phone screen was actually connected to the cockpit's internal camera and could even switch to the external camera. In the lower right corner of the screen, real-time metadata was displayed. They could also tap the voice button and talk to Wang Yixu. Wang Tianhao and the others, along with the other guests, all looked at the phone screen. Once old Wang figured out what was being shown on the phone, Wang Yixu was already gripping the control stick, while all eyes were on her. Her thumb suddenly pressed the ascend button at the end of the joystick. With a click, mission accomplished. Wang Yixu smiled wistfully and waved at the cockpit camera, showing a sweet smile. He now knew that people outside could see inside via the phone. If you ask whether the mecha could really fly, he definitely wouldn't believe it could reach this level. That's already incredible. To actually experience such a hyper-realistic mecha operation was already satisfying for him. The voices coming from outside through the phone. When they heard Wang Yixu announce the mission was over, they couldn't help but feel they wanted more. At the same time, they envied Wang Yixu for being able to get into the cockpit and experience it firsthand. Everyone was hoping the mecha could really take off, but reason told them it was impossible. Only Wang Ning stayed put and sneered. He criticized loudly. "I knew it wouldn't work. Even the Eagles haven't developed something like this. How could Xia country be the first to create it? It was like he wanted revenge for his embarrassed outburst at the mecha,
He cursed it again, calling it a hunk of scrap metal.
saying it just had a speaker inside. People nearby all turned to look at Wang Ning. Even old Wang at the side frowned. Some people started heading back to the villa. Wang Tianhao also stepped forward and called out to the remaining guests, "Ladies and gentlemen, the mecha exhibition is over. Let's begin the birthday banquet." Before he could finish his words, a shrill alarm suddenly rang out and exploded in everyone's ears. The mecha is about to enter takeoff mode. Everyone nearby, please move away quickly. A chilling sense of unease rose in everyone's hearts. The piercing alarm echoed throughout the manor. Old Wang clenched his fist abruptly. His rational mind reminded him that this mecha was just a very detailed model. Ultimately, it was just meant for show. There's no way it could really fly. A wave of energy burst from the mecha's center and rapidly spread outward. It was visible to the naked eye. Numerous tiny vector thrusters opened up on the mecha's surface, along with 4 larger vector thrusters on its back. All simultaneously shot out a stream of pink flames. The ground started to rumble, and subtle vibrations could be felt. Old Wang realized something was wrong. He hurriedly tapped the mic permission on the phone screen and shouted to Wang Yixu on the screen. "What's happening?" It's going to fly." Wang Yixu's voice was trembling, just like she'd been startled, like a fawn, lost and helpless, not knowing what to do. Old Wang's heart quivered.
His aged body suddenly staggered.
His eyes were filled with seriousness. The current key research project at their institute, exoskeleton armor, could only help soldiers carry heavy loads and such. Simple tasks. They couldn't even make it run, let alone fly. Not even the latest cutting-edge tech from the US could achieve something like this. How could one welder possibly do it? How could it possibly take off? The flames from the mecha's engine thrusters grew fiercer and were turning from pink to blue. Old Wang and the chatterbox could no longer remain calm. Years of experience told him this mecha was really about to take off. They had to evacuate immediately. Old Wang ordered the security soldiers, "Quickly organize everyone to evacuate Yunding Manor immediately. Seal off the entire Yunlai Mountain. There's no time left." Countless engines started up with a roar. People who reacted quickly didn't care about anything else and just grabbed any vehicle to make a quick getaway. Under the direction of security guards, the once chaotic scene became much more orderly. Mr. Wang was holding his phone, looking extremely serious. He anxiously stared at Wang Yixu on the screen. "Yixu, is there any way to stop it?" "I don't know either." He's already started the takeoff countdown. Inside the cockpit, Wang Yixu was also completely terrified at that moment, feeling anxious. Sharp warning sounds echoed in his ears, making him even more tense. Integrated hydrogen engine debugging complete. Microvector port connection is confirmed. Shoulder railgun operating normally. High-frequency ion blade mounted properly. Beam weapon not mounted. Dragoon system not installed. Final inspection complete. 321. Tianyu 1. Launch. Boom. The entire cloud-top manor shook violently. Countless people who hadn't evacuated yet heard a violent air burst in their ears. Flames jetting out of the mech engines suddenly shifted from pink to bright blue. A powerful kickback surged across Wang Yixu's body. If not for the helmet's assisted breathing function, he might have just passed out instantly. Caught in the gaze of countless people, the Jiangshan 1 mech erupted in a flash of fierce fire and shot straight up from the ground, soaring directly into the sky. Many people who were evacuating suddenly froze and looked up abruptly, their pupils trembling intensely. Their jaws dropped to the floor in shock. Damn, that mech model actually flew. No one would believe this, not even a dog. I'm seriously impressed. There really are mechs in the world. People just stood there dumbfounded, blurting out classic phrases nonstop. Even the usually steady chatterbox was left in complete shock, with a face full of astonishment. "What do you make of this?" "I'm watching from the ground." Even Mr. Wang couldn't hold back a curse. This situation has already gone way beyond what the two elders can comprehend. The chatterbox's brows drooped, thinking for a moment, and guessed, could this be old Tian from the Eastern Theater? Showing off is possible, but it's unlikely. Mr. Wang shook his head. Both their minds were about to overheat. They just couldn't figure out the origin of that mech. If you say it's Yixu, who got a welder to piece it together, no way would they believe it. A welder making a mech. To build a mech that can actually fly, the manpower and resources needed, along with the scientific expertise, are incalculable. Looks like to figure out where the mech came from, they need to start with Wan Yixu. Just then, a powerful sonic boom exploded over the manor. Violent shockwaves nearly tore a hole in the sky. Some guests who hadn't run far were left with ringing ears after the deafening blast, while the children cried even harder. People like Wang Ning, who had trouble with their legs, were so startled they sat down hard on the ground again. Mr. Wang's frail body suddenly shook, and even the chatterbox had his pupils go wide, startled by the whole thing. After a brief shock, the two suddenly thought of something. Almost at the same time, their aged gazes turned razor-sharp, staring up at the sky. The red neck was rapidly climbing, getting smaller and smaller, with a conical air plume forming behind it, making it extra eye-catching. Am I losing my eyesight here? Did I just see it break the sound barrier? Mr. Wang swallowed and asked uncertainly. Don't ask me, I might be deaf myself. The chatterbox was too excited, having seen all sorts of things in his life. But now he couldn't even speak properly. A vertical climb, and it can cruise at supersonic speed. Newton's coffin can't stay shut anymore. And the mech's shape doesn't even match optimal aerodynamics. How could it possibly go supersonic? My mind is totally blown. Even a fighter jet, breaking the sound barrier and cruising supersonically, is no easy feat. To go supersonic against gravity, that's unheard of. At that moment, Mr. Wang's view of life collapsed, and his values shattered everywhere. The chatterbox's mind short-circuited too, and started doubting his own life. The mech in the sky gradually became a tiny black dot, while the phone in Mr. Wang's hand sensed even louder roaring wind noise. Mr. Wang finally noticed. The mech's real-time data tracking at the bottom right corner of the phone had already started flickering wildly. Current mode. New mech anti-gravity posture. Vertical climb. Back engine no. 1 plus back engine no. 2. Thrust 110 kilonewtons. Plus back engine no. 3. Back engine no. 4. Thrust 105 kilonewtons. Plus wing engines. Thrust 109 kilonewtons. Mech body temperature 141 degrees Celsius. Speed Mach 1.357. Everything normal. Are you serious? This counts as normal? What kind of international joke is this? Mr. Wang and the chatterbox both gasped sharply. Their eyes were about to pop out, their foreheads full of question marks. Those numbers kept increasing and flickering. In the blink of an eye, the temperature had already climbed to 195 degrees, and the speed reached Mach 1.94, almost double the speed of sound. Mr. Wang's eyes were full of worry, maybe even fear, with temperature that high. Forget about the circuits inside the mech. The pilot can't handle it either. Xiao Yix, how are you holding up? It's flying so high. I'm really scared. Signal lost. The audio suddenly cut off. The phone screen froze, with only the bottom right real-time data panel. Stuck at the moment the signal dropped. Temperature 209 degrees Celsius, speed Mach 2. Mr. Wang's hands trembled violently holding the phone, and he suddenly looked over at the chatterbox. It must be because the mech entered the clouds, causing the signal to drop. They need to use military satellite communication rights immediately, and hurry back to the base. Have the tech team copy this app. Use the base's research computers. Connect to the mech communication system, so nothing will go wrong. With guards and trained soldiers, Mr. Wang and the chatterbox got in a military SUV and rushed toward the research base. Vast skies above. Inside the clouds, Wang Yixu sat wrapped tightly in the pilot seat, struggling to calm down. Nervous and scared, his fear got worse after losing communication with Grandpa. He felt even more terrified. He tried deep breathing to calm himself down. Right now, all he can do is rely on himself. After a long period of intense stress, he could actually think rationally. His view was fully blocked by the clouds. All he saw was whiteness, with nothing visible outside. Only at the bottom right, a transparent data panel was showing, with glowing letters, displaying all the current mech stats. Only two numbers he could understand. Mech body temperature 240 degrees Celsius. Speed, around Mach 2 or 3. The mech's exterior temperature has actually reached 240 degrees. I can't feel anything from inside this cockpit, not even the speed. We must be going over twice the speed of sound by now. Just as Wang Yixu was analyzing the panel contents, the entire mech suddenly shot out of the sea of clouds. The clouds blocking the mech's view instantly disappeared. Everything became crystal clear. An endless sea of clouds drifted across the horizon. The sky looked boundless and ethereal, like a mirage. Wang Yixu's beautiful eyes widened in an instant. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. It felt like stepping right into a fairyland. The visual impact from the holographic helmet was just too realistic. It was like actually walking on clouds. Even the fear in her heart had faded quite a bit. Wang Yixu gripped both control sticks firmly with her hands. Now that she had calmed down, she tried to control the still out-of-control descent 1 mech. Shanghai City Military Research Base, No. 1. The atmosphere in the briefing hall was a bit tense. Both Old Wang and the chatterbox had dark looks on their faces. The computer prodigy Tong Yao led the team. With dozens of experts in communications and computing, everyone was gathered together. Yet they still couldn't crack the app on Wang Yixu's phone. They couldn't even transfer or reinstall it. How could the national team not even handle something this basic? It would be a joke if anyone heard about this. Tong Yao glanced at Old Wang and the chatterbox, both of whom stared at her like she was their prey. She felt truly wronged inside. As they began to analyze the app's code, she was already secretly in awe. This wasn't code as they knew it at all. They couldn't understand a thing. It wasn't even a conventional programming language. Tong Yao now questioned her own reputation as a computer prodigy. She fell into deep doubt. At the same time, she was shocked deep down. What kind of incredible programming skills would it take to create this kind of app? This level already surpassed the world's highest standard by more than tenfold. If only she could meet the developer of this app just once. That would truly be worth dying for. Once Old Wang saw the experts fail again, he could only sigh. Let's put the phone screen up on the display in the briefing room for now. Just then, the chatterbox suddenly walked over. I just got word from my end. The military satellite is already in position. We can start connecting to the signal. Tong Yao understood immediately. Her slender fingers danced across the keyboard with ease. Lines of code rapidly ran on the computer. A line of captions appeared on the big screen in the briefing hall. Everyone watching held their breath. Everyone held their breath. Their eyes locked on that tiny line of text on the screen. Skybook satellite signal connecting. Chatterbox stepped forward and gently patted Elder Wang's shoulder, signaling him not to be too sad. No matter what happens, the old pal is always here. Chatterbox knew clearly in his heart that based on the data the mech last syncs to the phone, it looked like the pilot, Wang Yixu, had most likely met with misfortune. The mech's temperature exceeded 200 degrees Celsius, without insulation tiles. Even with a thermal expansion coating, the cockpit would be at least 100 degrees Celsius. Moreover, Chatterbox had seen with his own eyes that the mech's outer surface had no insulation measures whatsoever. How could the pilots survive? Furthermore, the temperature was still rising sharply at that time. After the signal connected, they would likely see Wang Yixu under high temperature baking, in a completely disfigured state. How could Elder Wang not know this situation? He was more anxious than anyone, but he couldn't show it. The Shantian 1 mech descending through the blue star atmosphere sped rapidly, frictioning with the atmosphere. Its entire body glowed fiery red but remained incredibly sturdy. Wang Yixu tried her best to control it, but could only adjust the mech's posture slightly. Its speed, however, did not slow down. The data panel displayed body temperature 501 degrees Celsius. Speed, Mach 5. The mech had flown out of the mesosphere and was about to reach the restricted orbit. Wang Yixu was no longer so afraid, but she knew clearly in her heart that at this rate she would surely die in outer space. She took off her holographic helmet, groping around the cockpit for an emergency stop button. She found nothing. She sighed, such an advanced mech. Does it not even have a smart assist system? As if in response to Wang Yixu, the mech emitted a robotic voice, detecting that the pilot has not performed reasonable operations for an extended period. Newbie Smart Assist System activated. The pilot can operate using voice control, holographic helmet, pupil focus selection, and other methods. Specific operation instructions have been sent to the holographic helmet. Wang Yixu quickly put on her holographic helmet. Only then did she see the various smart assisted driving rules. Hover, Wang Yixu commanded. Dozens of attitude adjustment vector thrusters outside the mech all began to work, flipping the mech's body posture. At the same time, the 4 hydrogen-powered engines on its back erupted in turbulent blue flames, forming intricate rings of Mach diamonds. Xiangtian-1's speed instantly plummeted. Like an emergency brake in midair, the data panel in the lower right corner also flickered rapidly. Speed Mach 4.7. Speed Mach 4.2. Speed Mach 3.5. Speed 0 current. Mech hovering. It finally settled steadily in the restricted orbit. It stopped. Wang Yixu let out a long breath. Her gaze shifted from the data panel to what was before her. Her pupils trembled violently, and her body recoiled. What met her eyes was a deep blue planet, wrapped in a thin, ethereal blue veil.
It was crystal clear.
Shimmering with colorful rings, it lay horizontally in the deep, lonely expanse of space, seemingly close at hand, yet impossibly distant. Is this Earth? Wang Yixu was deeply shaken by the sight, her breath coming in short gasps, unable to calm down for a long time. Mother Earth is truly beautiful. She was mesmerized by the sight. She didn't notice that on the transparent function panel in the lower left corner of her holographic helmet, a small loudspeaker-shaped icon had been flashing for over 10 minutes. Has the Shanghai research base connected? Elder Wang had asked for the 8th time. Because there's no intelligent identification, we have a one-way connection. It can only connect if they agree on their end, Tong Yao patiently explained. She had just learned the general situation from her colleagues, and knew the general situation. She knew that the person in the mech was Elder Wang's granddaughter, so his urgency was understandable. But according to everyone's calculations, the chance of survival was almost 0. In other words, no one on the other side would ever agree to connect. There was a high probability that there was no one alive in the mech. It was cruel, but it was the truth. The briefing hall was silent. Only Elder Wang's heavy, aged sighs could be heard. The atmosphere was somewhat somber. They had offered all the advice they could, and done everything they could. Everyone was helpless. Just then, Tong Yao's computer suddenly beeped. The screen displayed, phone call records decrypted. Although the app hasn't been cracked, Yixu's fruit phone has been unlocked, and her call records have been decrypted. We now have Master Su's phone number.
Elder Wang immediately commanded.
Quick. Connect, Tong Yao. She saluted and dialed the number. Sorry, the number you dialed has insufficient balance. Please top up your account. Tong Yao's mouth twitched, gritting her back teeth. She recharged the number with 50 yuan. She clicked redial. Sorry, the number you dialed is busy. Please try again later. Tong Yao paused and immediately realized. With a dark expression, she said, "This guy's phone blocks unknown numbers. Find his IP address and retrieve his personal information at the same time." Elder Wang waved his hand. Understood, Elder Wang. Done in 5 minutes. After today's setback, it's finally time for this adult to show off her skills. Tong Yao's lips curved into a confident arc. With her skills and authority, finding someone's personal information based on a phone number was a trivial matter. So her slender fingers flew across the keyboard. 5 minutes later, Tong Yao had found the IP address and the owner's information. Good job. What's the owner's full name? Where is he now? Send someone there immediately. Elder Wang clenched his fingers, wanting to bring Master Su over right away. Tong Yao casually clicked a couple of times on the keyboard, a hint of pride flashing in her beautiful eyes. According to the computer display, his name is Shi Tibang. His current location is... Her words stopped midway, abruptly. At the same time, her whole body trembled, and she gasped sharply. Her hand unconsciously reached for her short hair, pulling at it hard. This place name had scared her terribly. What's wrong, Tong Yao? Where is he? We need to send people over immediately. This Su Tibang really should have some connection to the mech, Chatterbox said. seeing Tong Yao. Suddenly silent, urging her on. We can't go to that place right now. And please don't curse at me when I tell you.
If possible.
I personally suggest we start by contacting his school, Tong Yao said nervously, shrinking her neck. Contacting his school will broaden the impact. What did you find? Well, according to the computer display, his current location is…
The moon.
The experts were all dumbfounded. Tong Yao's expression was wronged. And she explained with a bitter face, I tried countless other numbers, and the results were all accurate. So why did this one turn out to be the moon? Let me check again. With a nervous heart, Tong Yao starts typing on the keyboard again. But this time, her face is no longer filled with the previous confidence. As she presses the last key, the latest location data appeared. Seeing the location displayed on the screen, Tong Yao's face twitched uncontrollably. Her agitation made her pull out a handful of hair. The back of her head is already bald from yanking. Stop, director. Do you want me to say it? You're saying, according to the computer screen, he's currently at the M78 Nebula. Countless staff members who heard this location all felt a surge of anger at that moment. Old Wang's aged face turned frighteningly dark. His brows furrowed into a deep frown. His chin was trembling. Even though he said nothing, sometimes silence says more than words. First it's the M78 Nebula, then the moon, now outer space. So all this time Su Taibang is Ultraman Tiga. So according to this, Su Taibang was just traveling at 2 million light-years per second. From Earth to the M78 Nebula. Old Wang shouted angrily, his beard bristling, eyes glaring, his whole body shaking with rage. Jiangshan Mecha No. 1. Connection successful. A sudden voice rang out across the reporting hall. Old Wang, on instinct, looked toward the big TV screen at the very front of the hall. There in the endless starry sky, a blue planet appeared before everyone's eyes, so massive it took up half the screen. A sparkling rim of pure white light glowed at its edge, spectacular and dazzling. Absolutely stunning. The deep and majestic view made everyone stop and hold their breath in awe. All previous unpleasantness instantly vanished from their minds. After a short daze, old Wang caught a glimpse through his holographic helmet's reflection of his granddaughter Wan Yixu's pure, fair cheek. Thank goodness, little Yixu. I'm so glad you're okay. Can you hear me? I just saw your call request. I was doing the newbie practice earlier. That familiar voice sounded again. The old man's tears welled in his eyes. At this moment, he's no longer the legendary scientist who held up the backbone of China's scientific community. He's just a regular old grandpa. After a brief silence, the reporting hall erupted in a tidal wave of cheers. Countless people were moved to tears, not just for Wang Yixu's miraculous survival, but also for the miracle created by Jiangshan No. 1. We all know what's going on. Someone in the Xia Kingdom has developed a mech capable of carrying people into space. What does this really mean? Old Wang and Blubbermouth both clearly understand this as well. The surge of emotions that had just arisen was firmly suppressed by them. Their expressions quickly returned to normal. Now is not the time for personal matters. As Sha Yixuan's mech climbed all the way upward, you must have experienced both extreme heat and extreme cold, right? It's good that you made it through, old Wang remarked emotionally. Wang Yixu seemed confused, wondering why her grandpa would say that. She paused for a moment, then sweetly said, the temperature in the cockpit has always been like this, probably about 25 degrees. It's pretty comfortable. Grandma Wang got too excited and accidentally dropped the microphone on the floor. Old Wang picked up the microphone, panting heavily. He asked again to confirm. Xiao Yixu, you mean? You were wearing your own denim shorts and camisole and didn't feel any temperature change in the cockpit? Is there something wrong with that? Wang Yixu tilted her head, a hint of confusion flashing in her eyes. It's nothing. That's perfectly fine. Old Wang felt parched, swallowed hard, and laughed dryly a few times. He was full of questions. He had seen the mech with his own eyes. The outer layer had no heat-resistant tiles, and didn't even have any thermal expansion coating. It was just some unknown alloy, painted with some red-like designs. Unbelievable. This issue has become an unsolved mystery at the Shanghai Military Research Base. And even for the whole world, old Hua was also stunned. Everything he witnessed today had totally shattered his worldview, then ground it into dust. The surrounding researchers all frowned deeply, their thinking going in circles. They just couldn't figure it out. How exactly was the cockpit kept at a constant temperature? Old Wang tried hard to suppress his 10,000 questions, took a couple of deep breaths, and then said, Zhao Yixu, operating the mech isn't something you can learn in a short time. Don't rush. See if there's an auto-return function or something like that. That's the most important thing. No need. I'm going through the mech's beginner's guide training. I should be able to learn it in about 10 more minutes. Then I can pilot Zhangshan No, one back. After saying this, Wang Yixu blinked. Her delicate chin tilted up slightly, like a kid showing off a perfect score in front of her parents. Old Wang was about to take a drink to calm his nerves, but ended up spitting it out with a shocked cry. Beginner's guide training? This isn't even your favorite game, King's Glory. How could you possibly learn to operate it with just a beginner's tutorial? Come on, Grandpa. It's basically the same. Are you out of touch? The Zhangshan No, one mech is super smart and really user-friendly. I've only practiced a little while, and I can already drive it while singing, dancing, and rapping. Wang Yixu rolled her eyes at Old Wang, her expression full of pride. Old Wang was at a loss for words. As the most senior scientist in Xia Kingdom, who had led the development of so many powerful technologies, he was now being called outdated by his granddaughter, and it was in his area of expertise that she said he was out of touch. Who could he even complain to? And also, what the heck is this beginner's guide anyway? After going through just that, an ordinary girl can now pilot a mech. Isn't that a bit of a joke? He just felt like he was getting short of breath. He really needed a couple breaths of oxygen to stay alive. His blood pressure kept going up and down. He couldn't take it anymore. Old Wang took a long breath. So Zhao Yixu, can you check the mech's fuel? Pay attention to the fuel level, so you don't run out on the way back. As soon as Old Wang made this suggestion, the nearby researchers immediately looked at him differently. Their eyes filled with admiration. Truly a veteran scientist. He always catches the key points. There have been cases before where ignoring low fuel led to disasters in space. As for Wang Yixu, she really hadn't thought of that. She glanced at the fuel display and said casually, there are 10 bars in total, and I've got 9.5 left. Old Wang's face twitched. If it weren't for the setting, he would have cursed out loud already. Totally lost it. Absolutely lost it. It only used 1/20th of the fuel to fly from the ground to space. Isn't that way too exaggerated? Old Wang was completely dumbfounded. His mind was in chaos. He started doubting life. Just then, Wang Yixu suddenly let out a scream. Old Wang and everyone else immediately turned to the screen. I found another reserve energy icon. This one has 50 more bars than the previous one. Her innocent and melodious voice reached Old Wang's ears. Old Wang's eyes rolled back instantly, and he fell straight backwards. What's that sound? On Wang Yixu's end, she couldn't see the video feed. She could only hear something falling to the ground. What's wrong, Grandpa? Zhao Yixu, your grandpa is fine. He probably just talked for too long and needed some oxygen. Don't worry. Be good and listen to Grandpa. Come back as quickly as you can. Don't make him worry about you. Blabbermouth's steady voice came through the headset. He knew that when Old Wang got extremely worked up, this old problem would come up, so he wasn't worried. From past experience, it should be fine. Just let him breathe some oxygen for a bit. I'll come to the Shanghai base to find you guys then. Wang Yixu finished speaking and started practicing return maneuvers with the mech after the beginner's guide training.
He could already manage the Zhangshan No 1 basically.
Smart Suit Co-Pilot System. Activate current mode. Beginner's destination. Shanghai Military Research Base. Posture adjustment complete. Power system normal. Mech diagnostic complete. Estimated arrival in 28 minutes. Zhangshan No. 1. At Wang Yixu's command, Zhangshan No. 1 unleashed a burst of bright blue flame in space and vanished instantly. Xia Kingdom airspace. A streak of crimson light descended from space, trailing a bright golden tail that hung down from the sky, shooting straight downward. Only a blurred afterimage could be seen. Shanghai Research Center. Blabbermouth felt like his heart was about to leap from his throat. Staring at the data panel synced on screen, he felt his blood pressure skyrocket. He felt shaky on his feet.
It looked like he was about to collapse.
Tong Yao hurriedly supported him, and a researcher quickly pushed over a chair. But Blabbermouth didn't care about sitting down. His face pale as he grabbed the mic and shouted frantically, "Yixu, that's Mach 4. Slow down. At this speed, you could punch a hole right through the Earth's crust." His aged voice was almost breaking. But Wang Yixu was starting to get impatient. She even thought she could go even faster. She wanted to hurry back and check on her grandpa, who was still on oxygen. "Grandpa Hua, don't worry. I have to hang up for now. I'm going to disconnect." The audio and video signals were instantly cut off. Hueleo glanced at Tong Yao, unsure but hopeful. But before he could say anything, Tong Yao interrupted him. "It's not like I'm lacking in technical skills. A one-sided connection will never work. There's no use trying." The Mecha's data panel showed everything was normal. "You really don't need to worry." The nearby researchers joined in to reassure him. "This is the best we can do." Huelo shook his head helplessly. The reason he's being so cautious is mainly because if something happens to Wang Yixu, old Wang will definitely go after him. Besides, the advanced technology inside this mecha could be decades ahead of what we have now. As long as the mecha comes back safely, they can disassemble it and study the advanced technology inside. By then, Xia's science and technology would truly leap forward. After years of humiliation by the British and Western powers, how could they just accept that? Now, the opportunity is right in front of them. They'll seize it, even if it costs their lives. A thick layer of black clouds blanketed the sky. They hung very low. A streak of golden lightning slid from one end of the clouds to the other. The entire cloud layer carried a sense of dread. A muffled sound echoed out as a fiery red mecha suddenly burst through the clouds, leaving a gaping hole in the dark clouds. Arcs of electricity across the clouds seemed to be drawn to it, racing toward the mecha in an instant. But the mecha was moving far too fast. In the blink of an eye, it had vanished near the clouds. Even the lightning couldn't catch up. Wang Yixu casually stretched out her arms. After such prolonged high-intensity piloting, she was starting to feel tired. Fortunately, she was almost there. She glanced at the data panel. Body temperature, 580 degrees Celsius. Speed, Mach 5.7. That was the only stat he could really understand. Mach 5.7, and still increasing. That's not exactly slow, right? Actually, she could go even faster. Above the standard driving mode, there were two other modes, Master and King. But even with the cockpit's special protection field, it was hard to endure the extreme G-force. She had a feeling that this mecha's true limit was far from reached. Unless her physical fitness got 10 times better, she'd never be able to fully unleash the mecha's real power. Just as the mecha, leaving a beautiful trail behind, was diving toward the ground, the air defense systems of Shanghai City's military research base. A sudden blip appeared on the radar. A sharp air raid siren sounded urgently. Scanning with the phased array radar system. Attack detected from an unidentified intercontinental ballistic missile, suspected to be carrying a nuclear warhead. All personnel, proceed to civil defense shelters within 3 minutes to take cover. Disaster is imminent. Countdown begins. A piercing air raid alarm echoed through the entire skies over Shanghai. Government office workers, vendors and small business owners all stopped at this moment. Everything came to a halt in panic. Official emergency teams were quickly mobilized. Save as many as possible in 3 minutes. All civil defense shelters were activated.
The subway stations, usually overlooked.
Had become the destination for everyone in that moment.
A race against time for survival.
Inside the military research base, as soon as the air raid alarm sounded, Hua Lao sprang up from his chair. A sharp light burst from his aged eyes. His once cloudy pupils suddenly became crystal clear. At this critical moment, he was the backbone. There must be no panic. Immediately, he called the landline for the base's air defense department. This is bad. The radar shows the base has been locked onto by an enemy ICBM. Computers are analyzing thermal imaging data. Highly likely it carries a large-yield nuclear warhead. Initial estimate is 5 times the Hiroshima bomb. An automatic air raid alert has been sent citywide. What should we do now? Hua Lao was stunned. His scalp tingled. ICBM. Could it be Eagle's newest Sentinel-2 model? But that shouldn't be the case. Would they really dare to start a war that would cause total destruction? And if it came from Eagle or Bear, our airspace warning system should have detected it much earlier. Something's off. Seems like a link is missing. Hearing Hua Lao go silent on the other end of the phone, the caller tried to persuade him. There's no time to overthink it. There are only 2 minutes left on the countdown. You should hurry to the air raid shelter. Our sacrifice doesn't matter. You are the backbone of our nation. We can't afford to lose you. Not only the person on the phone. Even the researchers nearby tried to pull him away, insisting that even if they had to carry him, they would get this 70-year-old into the shelter. At that moment, a familiar voice spoke up. After inhaling oxygen for some time, Elder Wang had finally recovered a bit. He walked over briskly. Hua Lao's eyes lit up. He thought to himself, what perfect timing. Dr. Bai, you must know what's happening. What's your guess? Is there even a need to guess? The Mech must be back. Countless people froze in shock. Even Hua Lao was stunned. He stood there thinking. That statement's accuracy seemed to be the only possibility. Thinking of this, Hua Lao slapped his thigh. He grabbed the phone. Has the aviation department's hidden sky system been activated? The hidden sky system is now in the startup process. Final authorization is being processed. Once authorized, it will be fully activated. Several people gasped in shock. Things have escalated now. The hidden sky system, as its name implies, once activated, can bury the entire sky. Similar to Bear's dead hand system, or Eagle's doomsday plane, Xia country also possesses its own nuclear counterstrike force. World War isn't enough to describe its horror. It's more like doomsday. Any place within Xia's borders. If monitored systems detect an incoming nuclear strike within a minute, it auto-activates. As long as 3 authorizations are passed, all nuclear missiles would launch across the nation. Humanity would return to the Stone Age. Before the 3rd authorization passes, report this immediately. Any delay would be too late. Hua Lao quickly dialed. Channel 001, Special Red Communication Line. Ordinarily, this number can't be dialed. Not just anyone has the clearance to make such a call. Every time this number connects, it means a national crisis of epic proportions is underway. As Hua Lao made the call, Elder Wang went to the window. He looked outside, at the beautiful scenery of his homeland. The disaster countdown overhead kept blaring. Inside the big hall, only Hua Lao's phone report echoed, joined by the deafening countdown. Everyone held their breath, bracing themselves. A deathly silence filled the room. When the noise faded, the sound of death became even clearer. Elder Wang stood with his hands behind his back, his spine perfectly straight, silently watching out the window. Beads of sweat on his forehead revealed his inner turmoil. The countdown ended, but doomsday never arrived. Elder Wang finally let out a long sigh of relief. At that moment, Hua Lao hung up the phone as well. Relief washed over his face. Luckily, the triple authorization wasn't completed. Otherwise, everything would have been obliterated. He had reported the situation to his superiors. This air raid alert will now be classified as a drill. Relevant departments will explain to the public to live in peaceful times. What a blessing that is. Before Elder Wang could even catch his breath, a piercing sonic boom ripped through the air. The glass windows shook violently. A flower pot on the windowsill, jarred by the vibration, fell to the floor with a crash and shattered into pieces. Inside the reporting hall, many people stared, with faces full of disbelief and confusion. What's going on? Could it really be the end after all? Aside from Elder Wang and Hua Lao, more than 10 others knew why the window shook. It was the resonance caused by a super high-powered engine approaching. That's what produced the effect. All right, let's go see our Descent 1. Elder Wang and Hua Lao walked side by side, leading the research team out of the hall. When they heard the words Descent 1, those who were confused just now suddenly understood. Their expressions became more and more excited. They walked out onto the open ground, where there was a runway for aircraft takeoff and landing. And we're all of Shanghai's military research. Based its largest test site, Mech landings would definitely happen here. A powerful blast of air erupted, sweeping straight across their feet. Tiny Tong Yao was nearly knocked over. Elder Wang raised his head to the sky. A strange brilliance gleamed in his eyes. His hands clenched tightly in his palms. Hui Lao too smiled in relief. The scientists widened their eyes even more, gazing up without blinking, barely able to hide their excitement. They'd worked tirelessly all day, constantly checking data, listening to Elder Wang and Hui Lao explain. Now, finally, they could witness it in the flesh. They were so excited they could barely breathe. Is it coming? The real Mecha is coming. The red dot grew larger in everyone's eyes. A visually stunning, imposing mech descended from the sky. The shockwaves spread out. The fierce wind blowing over the crowd became even wilder. A torrent of heat crashed down. The ultimate visual experience blew everyone's mind. Some people were completely mesmerized. With a thud, they knelt at the feet of the mech, standing next to a 5-meter-tall mech. Countless researchers were absolutely stunned. Sharp, aggressive lines. A wild, explosive design. Especially the group of over-the-top railguns on its shoulders ignited the hearts of countless men. Who says men don't understand romance? This is a man's kind of romance. As the cockpit opened, Wang Yixu stood at the cockpit's entrance. She gave a symbolic wave. Old Wang keenly noticed. His precious granddaughter looked a bit pale. Something wasn't quite right. Yixu. Got it, Grandpa. The mech's arm helped Wang Yixu climb down. Wang Yixu wore a confident smile, radiant and full of energy. Countless people stared, entranced. No one expected a girl and a mech could be such a good match. Many young female researchers felt a bit inadequate by comparison. Yixu, are you okay? Old Wang asked with concern. Dove too fast. Almost couldn't stop in time. Feeling a bit carsick. Test driving the mech. As soon as Wang Yixu finished speaking, she ran off and started throwing up in the distance. Everyone's expressions froze instantly. The mech goddess is dizzy. Seeing his granddaughter was basically fine. Old Wang was finally relieved. Now that all the issues had been resolved, he was in a great mood. With a grand gesture, he addressed the 50 scientists behind him. Prepare to begin the mechanical component performance tests for the mech. In 10 minutes, Xiangtian No.1 had already been driven by Wang Yixu into the indoor test area. Here, there are professional analyzers for mechanical components performance. Usually, they're mainly used for functional testing of fighter jet parts. Using them to test the mech now is just right. Yixu, Grandpa wants to ask you something serious. Tell the truth. Ask me anything you'd like. Wang Yixu replied obediently. Where exactly did this Jiangshen No. 1 mech come from? I just found a welder to build it. As a birthday gift for Grandpa. Wang Yixu propped her chin, thought for a moment, then added, his name is Su Fan. Not only a welder, but also a student at Shanghai National Defense Science and Technology University.
His name is Su Fan.
Not Su Tai. As old Wang spoke, he glanced at Tong Yao. Tong Yao shrank her neck a bit and gave a silly laugh. Dared not say a word. No, really, his name is Su Fan. I've read his personal profile. He's sunny and good-looking. Just has a bit of a bad temper. Wang Yixu thought of how you acted during the call this morning. She couldn't help but complain inwardly. Once things settle down here, she definitely has to meet this fierce person in person. Old Wang was also lost in thought. A college student, working part-time as a welder, building mechas by hand. It's really a bit unbelievable. So Yixu, did you commission him to build the mecha months in advance? Not months, just the day before yesterday. Old Wang cleared his throat lightly. Pretending to be angry, he said, Yixu, lying is not something good kids do. I'm really not lying to you. If you don't believe me, check our chat records. Or call him yourself. I'll send you his number. Wang Yixu swore. I really didn't lie. If I did, I'm a puppy. No need to send his number. That kid's phone situation is too complicated. Old Wang gave a bitter smile. The chatterbox, seeing old Wang didn't get an answer, couldn't help but move closer. With a kindly expression, he said, Yixu, aren't you closest to Grandpa Hua? Be honest with Grandpa Hua. Where did this mecha really come from? As long as you tell the truth, from now on, this mecha is all yours to operate. How about that? Tears welled up in Wang Yixu's eyes, her face full of grievance. Grandpa Hua, I'm really not lying to you. At the time, I wanted Master Su to weld a 50 centimeters mecha, but I accidentally added a 0. It ended up as a 5-meter mecha. Don't cry, Yixu. No matter what others think. Grandpa Hua believes you. Seeing Wang Yixu about to cry, the chatterbox quickly tried to comfort her. Old man, what are you saying? Of course I believe my granddaughter. Old Wang, be reasonable. Old Y meant something deeper. He glared, puffing his beard. But just after both finished showing their loyalty, they secretly moved closer together, speaking in low voices. Is it possible that Yixu is actually connected to some secret department above? The chatterbox speculated aloud. Now that you mention it, things suddenly make sense. Old Wang's eyes lit up. He suddenly understood. No wonder. Even a child who never lies would start lying. Turns out she signed a non-disclosure agreement. Thinking it over, the mecha showing up here must be a coincidence. Or maybe the secret department wants to use us to make this mecha public. It's impossible to figure out their real intentions. Let's just watch for now. The two discussed softly for a while. They came up with a plan for what's next. But they didn't realize Wang Yixu had already snuck up behind them. The two elders looked up, and the atmosphere froze instantly. Wang Yixu frowned deeply, staring at them angrily. Since you don't believe me, wait until the test is over. I'll take you to Master Su's house, so you can ask him face to face. All right. The two elders nodded at the same time. They exchanged glances, showing a sly and cunning look. Half an hour passed quickly. Wang Yixu was soon bored outside, so she crawled into the mecha's cockpit. He didn't put on the holo helmet as instructed, just sat in the seat, looking curiously around the cockpit, just like a curious little cat. Meanwhile, Old Wang ordered the staff to operate the machinery, setting up the performance analyzer, and began monitoring the mecha. The technician moved the joystick, and a robotic arm extended from the controls, slowly attaching to the drive shaft at the mecha's ankle. After another series of fine adjustments, the technician pressed the final confirmation button. Blue progress bars appeared on the large display on the wall. Component composition test, 49% complete. Dynamic load strength test, 57% complete. Wear resistance test, 50% complete. Precision test, 8% complete. Aside from composition analysis, the other 3 tests are all key indicators of the metal component's performance. Dynamic load strength is directly linked to the component's mechanical properties. The higher the value, the stronger the component. Where resistance determines the component's lifespan, precision is related to a component's functional output. For instance, a 3 nanometer chip and a 300 nanometer chip differ greatly in power consumption and performance. Seeing the dynamic load strength test nearly complete, everyone's breath became quick with excitement. Even the always calm old Wang and the chatterbox showed some nervousness in their eyes. Obviously, they were excited too. A loud announcement rang out in the hall. Unable to detect dynamic load strength of rear side component, everyone's eyes widened together. They were totally confused. What does it mean if the test can't be performed due to machine malfunction? Everyone was stunned on the spot. This was the first time they've seen anything like it. This drive component is really something else. A golden flash appeared in old Wang's eyes. As he spoke, his voice even trembled. Yeah, there can only be one reason for it being undetectable. Its strength exceeds any material found on Earth for mechanical components that are forged or cast. Hearing the two elders say that, everyone around gasped. Just a drive in the ankle was already so strong and heavy. Doesn't that mean ordinary shells couldn't even scratch this mecha? With so many years of experience, most people present could instantly tell that the mecha's rear ankle drive shaft and outer armor were made of some kind of alloy material. If this material were used in modern warfare, forget any so-called absolute defense. It could go head-to-head. You fire at me, and I'll fire right back at you. Your base would be gone. How would you possibly counter that? Whoa, this thing is basically the ultimate weapon for battle. No question, if just one breaks through, any nation's homeland would fall instantly. I wish I could pilot it myself and take it for a spin in Japan. Countless researchers stared at Zhang Noan, their eyes sparkling, while everyone was still in awe. That mechanical voice sounded again from above the hall, unable to detect rear side components' material composition. This old Wang was shocked, as if struck by lightning. His pupils suddenly contracted sharply. That's it. It's a brand new alloy developed recently. The chatterbox sighed in speculation. His head throbbed with pain. He couldn't hold it in any longer. Today's performance analysis is enough to kill an old man. It's determined to scare us to death. A series of notifications quickly followed. Unable to detect load wear. Unable to detect precision. Old Wang's body suddenly trembled, almost unable to stand. If even load wear can't be detected, then obviously it's related to the ultra-strong properties of the alloy material itself. If even precision can't be detected, doesn't that mean this instrument's top possible precision level? It exceeded the 1 micron level that the equipment can detect. Old Wang was gasping heavily.
His heart was pounding wildly.
His blood pressure skyrocketed. He felt like he was about to go insane. To put it another way, the material performance used to construct this, as well as the manufacturing precision, have all reached a level on Blue Star right now that's beyond what any known structure can achieve. To make it even simpler, this is simply defying the laws of nature. A fierce light burst from old Wang's eyes. A smile slowly spread across his lips. The elderly face erupted in hearty laughter. The laughter grew louder and louder. A flush of red rose up on his deeply wrinkled face. A few warm tears streamed from the corners of his eyes. There is hope for our country's rise now. Even the chatterbox couldn't help but get teary-eyed.
His chin trembled a little.
His nose tingled with emotion. As long as this new alloy material and the ultra-precise machining technology can be widely applied, many military industries can be completely transformed. There can be a generational leap forward in a short time. Forget the British general. Even if the entire Western Alliance came, they would absolutely be crushed head-on. The indoor test field erupted in wild cheers, one after another. Not just old Wang and the chatterbox. Everyone was cheering excitedly with beaming faces. As the first witnesses to the mysterious alloy and precision processing technology, they were truly fortunate. How lucky they were. Meanwhile, more than 10 Dongfeng warrior off-road vehicles with white license plates marched forward in a mighty convoy, racing toward the Zhonghai military research base. In the passenger seat of one of the vehicles sat a rugged-faced middle-aged man, dressed in army green camouflage. He looked at the ringing phone in his hand, hesitating whether to answer. The call was from his arch-rival. Calling at a time like this was definitely because the Eastern Military District had developed exoskeleton armor. They just wanted to show off a bit by calling, and throw in a little taunt while they were at it. The rivalry between military districts wasn't something new, making your rival angry enough to lose it. If it were him, he'd definitely do the same. Just as the call was about to disconnect, Li Gozhong finally pressed answer. A familiar voice immediately burst out with laughter from the other side. Good morning, old Li. Hearing that tone, Li Gozhong's face instantly darkened. Just as expected, he could already guess what kind of nonsense was coming next. He could already predict it. Old Kong, just say what you have to say. If you have something to get off your chest, just say it. Old Kong laughed heartily. Don't get upset. The military drill is right around the corner, isn't it? I heard your southern military region is short on firepower. As a brother unit, we from the eastern military region can lend you 2 units. Exoskeleton armor. It's not much, but it should be enough to keep up appearances. It sounds like concern, but he's really just here to mock them. No need. Li Gozhong's temples throbbed violently. He forced out those words through gritted teeth after holding back for a while. He had long predicted this phone call would come. And sure enough, it did. Don't be so distant. We all came from the same class. No need for formalities. As for what else old Kong wanted to say, Li Gozhong couldn't stand the ridicule any longer. He cut him off directly. Enough. Listen up, I don't need it. Before hanging up, Li Gozhong could still hear wild laughter from the other end, thinking about that chatterbox's previous calls. A glint of gold flashed in Li Gozhong's eyes. He muttered, Old Kong, just you wait. When the military exercise starts, I'm afraid you'll be the one crying. Zhuhai Military Scientific Research Base. 10 Dongfeng warrior vehicles rolled in through the main gate. A few minutes later, Li Gozhong led more than 20 officers into the reception hall. Elder Wang and the old chatterbox, and the heads of relevant departments at the base stood up to greet them. Li Gozhong was taken aback at the sight. He hurried over at a jog. Even though his rank is high, he's not qualified to have the two elders stand to greet him. Elder Wang, please, you two mustn't treat me this way. Li Gozhong went up and shook hands with Elder Wang and Elder Hua in turn. Nervously, he said, when you two were in the military, I wasn't even born yet. If you keep treating me this politely, I won't come again. Elder Wang and Elder Hua exchanged a look, and both burst out laughing. You little rascal, still can't take a joke, just like when you were a kid. Elder Wang looked at Li Gozhong with his thick eyebrows and big eyes. His gaze was filled with warmth. Li Gozhong introduced the research-based staff. Most of the officers who came along are from the staff of the division headquarters. They may not hold important combat roles now, but they're young enough and have a bright future ahead. Elder Wang glanced around. He also thought these young men seemed full of vigor. Very good. Then he said, as for your reason for coming, Elder Wang and I already know. Let's discuss it outside. Li Gozhong nodded and followed the two elders outside. When they reached the open area, Li Gozhong got straight to the point. The joint military exercise is about to start. I heard the Eastern Military Region is bringing a secret weapon. On our side, Elder Wang smiled and said, they have exoskeleton armor in the Eastern Military Region. We in the Southern Military Region also have our preparations. That's good. Hearing Elder Wang say that, Li Gozhong finally felt relieved. As long as the gap isn't too huge, with our region's grit and strength, we'll surely put up a good fight. In reality, the gap is actually quite big. Elder Wang curled his lips into a smile. Li Gozhong didn't notice his expression. Upon hearing the gap is rather big, his face instantly soured. The officers behind him all wilted, completely dejected. Their mood hit rock bottom. In modern warfare, whoever has cutting-edge technology gets to lock in victory. This exercise, if the technology gap is too large, by then, it could really turn into a one-sided situation. Thinking of old Kong's gloating face, Li Gozhong couldn't help clenching his fists. Li Gozhong slowly exhaled a deep breath, forcing an awkward smile onto his face. It's fine. There have been plenty of tough battles in this world. Are we supposed to just let them walk all over us? Even if old Kong's a tiger, I'll still break off 2 of his front teeth. Elder Wang and the chatterbox exchanged glances, almost burst out laughing. The 2 of them were deliberately keeping it mysterious, also to see how Major General Li Gozhong would respond when facing adversity. And now it seems he has a good attitude and shows some of the spirit a soldier should possess. Seeing Elder Wang and the others laughing, Li Gozhong was puzzled. Just as he was about to speak, suddenly a rush of air poured down from above, blowing everyone's clothes loudly. All the officers were startled, looking around. At this moment, the chatterbox smiled, and it patted the dejected Li Gozhong on the shoulder. Gozhong, our secret weapon has arrived. Li Gozhong still felt down. No enthusiasm showed on his face. He glanced around, saw nothing.
He's coming.
Elder Wang suddenly barked in a low voice, took 2 steps back. Before Li Gozhong could react, a high-pitched buzzing sounded overhead. It was as if the sky had been split open. The earth trembled. A fierce red beam of light slammed down from above, exploding into a mass of sapphire blue flames. A ring of invisible shockwaves swept outward like a tidal wave. The cold, fiery red Mech blocked out the sun, with a fierce, domineering shape, and the overwhelming sense of pressure of a giant suddenly appeared before everyone's eyes, instantly blowing Li Gozhong's mind. He looked up, staring dead at that steel giant, his eyes trembling wildly, his heart pounding out of his chest. His blood pressure shot to 580. He froze like a statue, completely stunned. Oh my God, is this our secret weapon? The more than 20 officers and over 10 guards behind him all lost control of their expressions. Their jaws dropped wide open, eyes bulging out of their sockets, tongues hanging nearly 3 feet long. A sense of savage power surged through everyone, from their feet straight to the tops of their heads. It felt like their skulls were about to pop off. Some people were so shaken, their legs wouldn't work. and plopped right down on the ground. Only after a long time did everyone gradually regain their composure. Li Gozhong was gasping for breath. After holding it in so long, he was still so shocked his heart went numb. With a trembling voice, he exclaimed, "Oh my god, it's actually a mech. So powerful." For the first time ever, Li Gozhong swore out loud, and the officers and guards around him actually thought it sounded perfectly normal. Maybe because it was all just too overwhelming. Wanting to say something to lighten the mood, Li Gozhong, almost involuntarily, blurted out, "Can this thing actually fight?" "Gozhong, what you mean is, you want to see what it's capable of in a fight, right?" Elder Wang stroked his beard. He asked with a smile. Yes, that's exactly what I meant." Li Gozhong nodded vigorously. "Mech combat capability test. That's the first time I've ever seen it. Of course I want to watch. And watch closely." "Alright, I'll make the arrangements." Mr. Wang took out his phone and called Wang Yixu. He gave her brief instructions. Wang Yixu, inside the Mecha, was just about to stop when she heard her grandpa say the leaders wanted to see a live test. She couldn't help but pout. She had already done tests in low Earth orbit. It works great. As long as she locks onto the target with the quantum phased array radar, there's no need to even fire the railgun yet. No matter what the target is, it blows up into 2 bursts of fireworks instantly. It's quite a sight. Li Gozhong called over the security officer. They brought their car around. Everyone got in and headed for the test range. 10 Dongfeng warrior vehicles roared off. 20 minutes later, they arrived at the special test range at Zhanghai Research Base. This is the site for testing and training new equipment. All kinds of test targets are available here. When Li Gozhong and the others arrived, Wang Yixu had already taken a nap in the cockpit. Their drive took 20 minutes, but it took Wang Yixu less than 60 seconds to arrive in the Mecha. She basically closed her eyes and she was there. It's insanely fast. Gozhong, this Mecha is called the Skyfall 1. It currently has 2 attack weapons. Mr. Wang recalled the data broadcast before takeoff and explained, according to the pre-flight voice broadcast, there should be a total of 4 weapons. Look over there. Mr. Wang pointed at the dark cannon on the Mecha's shoulder. That's the shoulder-mounted railgun. And the thing on its back is the high-frequency particle blade. The other 2, a beam weapon and the Dragoon system, are not installed. Watching the Skyfall 1 Mecha up close again, Li Gozhong still couldn't hide his excitement. This flawless creation looks like it's from the future. "Mr. Wang, developing something like this couldn't have been easy, right?" Li Gozhong said with emotion. "No matter how you look at this thing, it's already surpassed British technology. You can totally imagine how much hardship those scientists like Mr. Wang have endured, and how much pain they've suffered to make this happen. To be honest with you, actually, the Tianyu-1 isn't developed by our research center." Elder Wang pondered while speaking. The person who developed it seems to be named Su Fan. He's a student at Zhanghai National Defense Science and Technology University. Li Gozhong's eyes widened as big as copper bells. "Elder Wang, you're not joking with me, are you?" Gozhong was not just talkative. He added further, "You might not believe it when I say this. From its inception to completion, this Mecha took less than 2 days." Li Gozhong took a sharp breath. Suddenly, he didn't know what to say. He felt a numb tingling on his scalp. His mind couldn't process anything. His thoughts were completely blank at that moment. He felt dizzy. His eyes started seeing stars. If anyone else had said this, he would have retorted instantly. But Elder Wang and the Chatterbox are not ordinary people. Even he has to genuinely respect them from his heart. Such pillars of society. There's no way they'd joke like this. Besides, their words always have meaning. Since they said it, it's almost definitely true. Who is this Su Fan really? Able to create such a miraculous device? Li Gozhong was curious now. "Gozhong, which weapon do we test first?" Elder Wang's question broke Li Gozhong's train of thought. "Either is fine. You arrange it, that's good enough," Li Gozhong replied with a smile. "Alright, then let's start with the high-frequency particle blade."
Elder Wang instantly decided.
He picked up the phone and called Wang Yixu. "Xiao Yix, test the particle blade first. There are a few scrap T-54 tanks at range 277. Cut the front of the tanks a few times. Let's check the results first. Don't forget to send the photos afterward." Li Gozhong blinked dumbly from the side. He looked completely baffled. using a blade to cut a T-54 tank. What kind of wild talk is that? T-54's armor is made of 10-centimeter thick alloy steel. Regular missiles can't even pierce it. What kind of operation is it to use a blade? Li Gozhang's mouth twitched. Obviously, he was struggling to keep his composure. The officers who just arrived behind them overheard, and their pupils also shook. If someone else had said this, they would have been sent straight to the psych ward. At that moment, inside the Mech, Wang Yixu responded, "Grandpa, I'll send something to your phone right now. A temporary visual projection plugin. Install it for me. I'll sync the visual feed from my holographic helmet to you. You can watch directly." That's even better. Elder Wang opened his Huawei phone, tapped a few times. The screen showed the Mech's synced visual feed, pretty much the same as what Wang Yixu's phone had displayed before, except without the communication panel in the lower left and the info panel in the lower right. Elder Wang forwarded the plugin to Li Gozhang. After forwarding to each other, everyone could see the feed in real time. Wang Yixu yawned at that moment and stretched. She said, "Leaders, watch carefully." Then she faced the tanks. One Mech drew out the high-frequency particle blade from its back. Its legs bent slightly. Suddenly, it exerted force. Boom! Reinforced concrete shattered. A 5-meter wide hole appeared in the ground. Debris flew everywhere. All the steel bars broke under force, twisted and exposed outside. The entire Mech shot up like a shell. None of the 10 exhausts emitted flames. Clearly, the light power engines weren't even starting.
Emitter.
The high-frequency particle blade in the Mech's hands buzzed, emitting a 4-meter-long aqua-blue glow, flowing and dazzling, almost like liquid light. Thunderous booms echoed from the distant hills. So strong the ground beneath Elder Wang and the others shook, causing intense tremors. Li Gozhang and all the officers felt the tremors at their feet. Each was so stunned they couldn't speak, staring at the screen on their phones, as if they were inside the cockpit themselves. Leaping up with the Mech, then crashing back down, shaking the ground, dust flying everywhere. Thump, thump, thump. Hearts pounding furiously, nearly jumping out of their throats. Everyone had the same thought. If I could pilot a Mech just once in my life, I'd die happier. Mech is a man's romance. Women will never understand. The Mech landed, stopping right in front of a rusty T-54 tank. This T-54 had been abandoned for years. Most of the electronics inside were long gone, but its 10-centimeter thick armor remained. Wang Yixu operated the Mech, holding the blade in both hands, getting into a drag blade stance in front of the phone. Li Gozhang and the officers held their breath, staring intensely at their phone screens, not daring to blink, afraid they'd miss a single moment. Meanwhile, a question filled everyone's mind. Particle blade versus tank armor. Which is tougher? Under everyone's expectant gaze, the Mech suddenly finished charging up and slashed sharply upwards. A metallic slice upward, the blade rippling like water, followed along the T-54's tracks. The whole steel body was cut diagonally from the turret armor panel. Everyone's eyes widened in shock. Their eyeballs almost popped out. The blade actually pierced right through the tank. And that wasn't all. The Mech leaned forward slightly. Light power engines roared to life. 4 vector exhausts on the back opened up, blasting out intense orange flames. The Mech reversed the particle blade to its left side. With a burst of incredible thrust, it shot forward suddenly, rubbing its feet against the ground, sending sparks flying. The long blade sliced horizontally, instantly cutting the T-54 tank in half. With one slash, it was done. Wang Yixu stowed the blade back behind her, turned and looked at the T-54. Elder Wang and the chatterbox held their breath too, eyes glued to their phone screens. They weren't even daring to breathe. Li Gozhang's chin trembled from fright. There was almost a sense of anticipation in his eyes. The officers seemed almost dumbfounded, unable to look away from their phones, screens for even a moment. Time seemed almost frozen. Frozen thump. Only the sounds of everyone's rapid heartbeat remained. Boom, accompanied by massive shattering noise. The previously intact tank shattered apart in an instant. A cloud of dust exploded, clearly visible to the naked eye. The 10-centimeter thick alloy armor had a straight cut through it. The cut was as smooth as a mirror, as if it had just been polished and waxed. able to reflect a person's image. Even as tough as the T-54's alloy armor, it was utterly destroyed by just 2 cuts from the particle blade. In front of the phone, Li Gozhang felt intense shock deep down. His thoughts short-circuited instantly. His brain turned to freshly cooked tofu, still steaming, unable to think. Too shocked, totally overwhelmed. His entire worldview collapsed. In this world, there really is such a weapon that can slice gold and cut iron. This is insane. The officers were all left speechless. They all gasped in unison. If they hadn't experienced it themselves, they would never believe what just happened before their eyes. After a brief silence, a grin slowly crept onto Li Gozhang's face. He was visibly ecstatic. Then he actually burst out laughing, and the more he laughed, the louder he got. With this thing, let alone military exercises, even the Japanese emperor and the British and US presidents would have nightmares. Awesome. Li Gozhang looked at the mecha, his excitement obvious. He knew better than anyone what this thing meant. Super agile mobility, plus this high-frequency particle blade. Once on the battlefield, even an F-22 would have to kneel and surrender. This sleeping Linxia country was once humiliated by foreign powers. Now it's time for those former powers to taste it. Who the hell is the real power now? Not a single officer tried to hide their smile. Their excitement was written all over their faces. Some were actually trembling with excitement. A few were even brought to tears. This is amazing with this. Let's see how arrogant the Brits can be now. Now they'll know what it's like to be beaten for falling behind. Looking at the excited Li Gozhang and the rest of the officers, Elder Wang and the talker also had tears in their eyes. They were just as emotional. They almost wanted Wang Yixu to pilot the mecha and wipe out the Japanese emperor right now. But that's not feasible. The international situation is extremely complicated. Every country has its trump cards. It's not that simple. The particle blade test is over, Gozhang. That power should be good enough now, right? The talker noticed everyone's excitement and threw in a humble brag. It's way more than enough. I can already picture old Kong's exoskeleton armor being crushed under the feet of Jiang Tianwen. Li Gozhang was clearly still fired up. The talker wasn't surprised at all. After all, they've been even more excited than this earlier. There's one more weapon, the shoulder-mounted railgun. Should we continue with the live fire test? Gozhang nodded heavily. Of course we have to test it. He was totally hyped up now. He's completely fallen for this mecha. Who cares about beautiful wives when you have something this awesome? Elder Wang connected Wang Yixu's call again. Yixu, on the small hill 2 kilometers out at your 11 o'clock. There's a fixed target. Blow it up with the railgun, okay? Wang Yixu replied. She spun around instantly. Text commands only she could see appeared in her field of vision. Lines of input instructions, which she selected in a flash. The commands were done almost instantly. Shoulder-mounted railgun. Normal quantum source. Phased array radar ready. Ammunition. 50,000 rounds. Plenty. Fire? As Wang Yixu's gaze locked on the target, the mecha's shoulder instantly gathered an intense red glow. Boom! A red streak shot out, trailing a long line of fire. It hit the bullseye in a split second. A massive explosion erupted. The ground shook violently. Li Gozhang was dizzy and the world spun. He was utterly dazed. Some officers shouted, "Whoa! Earthquake! Don't panic!" Li Gozhang shot a glare at the panicked officers. He looked at the target through his phone screen. Now it was just empty ground. Li Gozhang was totally stunned. Where did the hill go? A strong sense of confusion rose in his heart. Then he simply raised his binoculars and looked directly at the target area. But no matter how he looked, the hill was truly gone. Only a cloud of grayish dust remained. Where's my mountain? Where did the hill go? I told you to blow up the bunker, not to blow up the whole mountain. That one shot was already the size of a huge fried egg. Li Gozhang couldn't hold it in anymore. With a nearly twisted expression, he fell straight backward. A nearby bodyguard rushed to catch him. The officers hurriedly gathered around. All of them shouted in alarm. "Commander, what happened to you? Commander, you must hold on. Commander! Don't die. Damn it, who just cursed me to die?" Li Gozhang was panting hard, trying to calm his shock and excitement. I really came late today. With Jiang Tian won. Forget the military drill in 3 days. Even if those clowns want a real fight, we've got nothing to worry about.
Not afraid at all.
The weapon tests were finally over. Everyone was overwhelmed with emotion. A deep excitement lingered in all their hearts.